was a slave. My life dedicated to labor, work to provide aid to the Imperium, wrecking my body, churning my soul into machine repetition. I was born an orphan, a product of the Imperium. I lived to serve the rich of the fortified city, as they lived in their lavish palaces. I was buried below the city in the slave pits. 16 hours a day I worked, serving the High Lord's youth of the city. I was an insect to them, beaten without mercy for no reason except for the pleasure of my masters. That was my life's talent. That was how I survived in the Imperium. My life was not my own. I was only a boy. The Imperium. I was proof of its false promises. Since birth trained to obey and pray to my Emperor, my prayers were never answered. No one was watching over me in the darkness. Endless servitude, as my masters berated and whipped me as they went, inspiring me with the ever-flowing message of how great our God was, how our service to him would be repaid, all while the whip ripped open my skin as my masters bellowed in delight. The children of my masters were the worst of them. Daily they would crack the whip against my skin, their grins from ear to ear as they laughed at my pain. There was no God watching over me. If there was, I had no intention of loving him. I'm not sure why I kept going. Death was the silence I wished for. It is when the vision started to appear. The faceless voices pierced directly into my brain, showing me a new world beyond our own. It was like a new color being seen for the first time. I never felt so alive. The voices spoke, speaking the words I could never utter. The God Emperor was a lie. I was a slave to that divinity. A servant who would spend his life raising a beam that did not exist. I rejected the false god. I wish to be set free from this cursed existence. How could I be sure the God Emperor even existed? The other slaves bought into the myth. Who could truly say? History was written by my masters. My depth of life did not travel beyond these steel walls. Soon after, I noticed a change. My master's confidence was declining. No longer did they hold the grin of satisfaction on their faces. They seemed distant, fear written into their eyes. I remember the day the message blared throughout the city. We were under attack. Continue your duties, they said. If the enemy breaches, fight and die for your emperor. How I loathed those words. Fighting for a rotting carcass of a man. I saw the other slaves and my masters argue in their groups, speaking of defense and suicide if the city were breached. For hours they bickered. The palace started to shake. The sound of war grew closer. All were frightened, except for me. I grew tired of life. I was ready to move on from this world. My only hopes were my masters joining me on that voyage to hell. There was no decision in my actions. Fate had intervened, showed me my path of glory. My masters were occupied with their prideful yells, each one's ego stated above the rest, all of them yelling their ideas for safety. As they argued, I made my way to the security room while locking the door behind me. I used the council and opened the city gates. Such an ignorant mistake to trust me with that code. The light poured in, and within a few moments' time, I heard the screams. They were upon us. Raiders poured into the streets. Behind them were giants of red steel, spikes jetted from their armor, skulls placed as trophies upon their steel. The speed and strength was like anything I had ever seen. A few of the slaves tried to fight the giants. One of the steel warriors grabbed one of my fellow slaves by his head, crushing his skull as he screamed. All surrendered to the giants. More of the raiders came into the palace, herding me and the master's children into a group as they surrounded us. One of them spoke, the largest of them. His voice cracked the air with such ferocity. He gave us an offer. We were to be pitted against one another. If we were to win, we would keep our lives. The master's children pleaded, offering money and riches to the warriors. I did not wait. I was ready for death. But I was not going alone. A lifetime of rage boiled over. I became a berserker. One by one, I ripped through the youths. I cut their faces off as they screamed. They were my slaves now. The raiders looked on as I continued my vengeance. The youths all begged for their mercy as I tore off their parts. The meanest of them I left for last. The sounds of his agony as I cut his face from his head fills my dreams of such joy. I had never felt such bliss. I held my trophy over my head. It was the greatest moment of my life. The Steel Warriors seemed impressed by the fight. I was the only one who did not cower from their entrance. The largest warrior picked me up by the throat. Smiling with pride, the warrior stared for a minute and said nothing. Then he spoke. We will take this one. Kill the others. I remember him saying. I was chained and walked behind the large warrior as I heard the sounds of the chain blade and screaming echoed behind me. I was set free of that place, for I had won over my masters. My memory fades during the passing time, when I was to join the Legion. Only vivid glimpses remain. The surgery, the pain, the anguish, turning my frail mortal youth into an elite soldier of death. I joined my brothers on the battlefield. I became a Red Corsair. The truth that was hidden from us all was revealed. The truth of the Materium and the powers that grew. How the Emperor locked these secrets away, for fear of him losing his grip on humanity. We were all slaves to the Emperor. The Imperium was built on a lie. My hatred for them is infinite. The lives of those miserable wretches bring to a soulless lump of meat. I will make them pay for those falsehoods. I joined the armies of chaos and swore allegiance to the dark gods, releasing the galaxy from the tyrant's grip. I will fight with my brothers until every one of them is dead. I serve here on Blackheart. I fight for Khorne and am blessed by his gifts. I grow stronger. I will feast upon the Imperium. I will bathe in their blood. I serve the Dark Gods. I will become the Demon Prince. I am a Red Corsair, and we will ravage the Imperium.